forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
Developing tonight in North Philadelphia. Have you seen this man? Police say he could be in danger.
On the night of August 26, 2006, a black Mercedes traveled through Philadelphia. Its two occupants unaware that danger was closing in. Suddenly, a black van with flashing police-style lights will cut them off. Within moments, between 6 and 10 armed men wearing masks and posing as law enforcement would surround the vehicle. Moving with precision, they would yank open the doors and drag the man and his 21-year-old companion to the pavement. Karen Murphy, the young woman that had been taken alongside of him, would later testify that they were handcuffed and had duct tape wrapped over their eyes before being forced into the van. The two captives were taken to what she believed was a warehouse or a garage, where she was held for 4 hours, listening in terror as her companion was tortured and begged for his life. The kidnappers demanded information, money, drugs, something he wasn't giving up, and then silence. By dawn, she would be released, dumped in an alley near 31st and Diamond Streets, left shaken but still alive. And what would set this kidnapping apart from the many others that happened in this city besides the brutality, it was who the victim was. The kidnapping was different because he was the son of a state delegate.
Still disheartened and frustrated that we have not been able to get any information with regards to where our child is.
Relatives of State Representative John Myers and his son Shamari Taylor came to court with hopes of learning Shamari's whereabouts. Instead, they heard a close friend, Corinne Murphy, describe how they were kidnapped in late August here near 76th and Woodbine.
And pulled out by quite an organized group that were pretending to be police, flashing light on the dashboard, big gold badges around their necks, guns. Only because she recognized the defendant, Mr. Tuck, and knew him not to be a police officer.
She was released the next morning.
Now, you gotta be some bold motherfuckers to kidnap somebody when you had to know their pops was a big dog in the city's politics. But it was what happened the very next day after the brazen kidnapping that took it from unbelievable to unfathomable.
Later that day, Shamari's mother and sister were shot after a home invasion here in Wyalusing. Thousands of dollars was taken. Kenneth Tuck has since been charged with kidnapping both Taylor and Murphy, yet Taylor, an alleged drug dealer, hasn't been found. Murphy says while duct-taped and handcuffed, she heard Taylor begging for his life, then silence. Police have searched numerous warehouses in the city looking for Taylor, but to no avail. The defense tried to discredit the witness because of a previous relationship she had with Tuck 6 years ago.
She didn't identify this man as being one of the kidnappers by the name Kenneth Tuck till after she'd spent a little quality time in a jail cell at 55th and Pine.
I hope that, that when we get our son, that he's alive.
Unfortunately for State Representative John Myers, his son wouldn't be alive when he was finally found, and neither would he. Myers, a well-respected politician who served 9 terms from 1995 to 2012, dedicated his life to the people in Pennsylvania. But while he was shaping policies, his son Shamari was walking a much darker path, one that would lead to his tragic disappearance. In 2006, Shamari would be kidnapped off the streets of Philadelphia. His fate was unknown at the time. His father would pass away nearly 10 years later, never learning the truth. But 12 years after the abduction, the chilling details surrounding the suspects and their motives finally would come to light. On August 27, 2006, just the day after the abduction, the Taylor family home in West Philadelphia would be invaded. 2 armed men would break in, ransacking the place, flipping furniture, pulling open drawers, and tearing through every room that they could find. Tens of thousands of dollars in cash were stolen from the home, but it didn't stop there. Before they left, the intruders would look to clean house, and Shamari's mother and sister were both shot in the head, left for dead. But somehow they survived. But this definitely didn't seem like just a robbery, a violent attempt maybe to shut the family down, or meant to make sure that whatever happened to Shamari would stay buried. And at the center of the case would be a guy by the name of Kenneth Tuck. Now, Tuck wasn't just a regular suspect. He had a very peculiar connection to the case. Corinne Murphy, the woman that was kidnapped alongside Shamari, had once been involved with Tuck when she was just 15 years old. At the time, Tuck was nearly twice her age. That history will become a major point of contention in the courtroom. When the case would first go to trial in 2007, the year after Shamari's disappearance, and Corinne Murphy was the key witness for the prosecution. But her testimony alone wouldn't be enough for the jury to reach a verdict, and the judge would declare a mistrial. The following year, in 2008, Tuck would stand trial again. This time, his alibi would be backed by multiple witnesses, leading to an acquittal. But years later, new information would suggest that testimony had been brought and witnesses had been coached. Still, the verdict stood and Tuck walked free. Murphy, the prosecution's key witness, would recall the night in chilling detail, just like the first trial, but that wouldn't make a difference. But then, 12 years later, in 2018, everything changed.
All right, now to new developments in a 12-year-old cold case. Authorities with the FBI and Philadelphia police say they found the remains of Shamari Taylor. Taylor, the son of the Pennsylvania State Representative John Myers, was kidnapped from his car back in August of 2006 and hasn't been seen since. Action News reporter Sarah Bloomquist is live at Philadelphia Police Headquarters with the latest tonight. Sarah.
Rick, Shamari Taylor's body was identified today, almost 12 years to the day after he was kidnapped from an Overbrook Park neighborhood. Taylor, as you said, was the son of the late state representative John Myers. Finding Taylor's body really reinvigorates this investigation, an investigation in which nobody has ever been successfully prosecuted. 12 years after he disappeared, today Shamari Taylor's remains were positively identified.
Now the investigation was already active. It is, of course, now accelerating because that's a good investigative lead, having the body recovered of who you're looking for.
Taylor was last seen on the 7600 block of Woodbine in Overbrook Park on August 26, 2006. That night, up to 10 masked men abducted him and his girlfriend, who would soon be released by their captors. Taylor was never seen again. The day after the abduction, 2 men went to Taylor's mother's home in the 5400 block of Wyalusing Avenue, where they shot both his mother and sister in the head. They survived. Several days later, Taylor's cousin was raped and robbed. Then this week, police got information on the whereabouts of Taylor's body.
Earlier this week, based on information that was developed during the course of the investigation both by Philadelphia police and other law enforcement partners, in a lot in the North Philadelphia section of the city, remains were recovered. We always say there's no such thing as a bad tip, a wasted tip, or an outdated tip. It doesn't matter when. That's also, the law supports that too. There's no statute of limitations on homicides.
Authorities have always said they believe the abduction was drug-related. Now, a man named Kenneth Tuck was tried twice on kidnapping, robbery, and other charges related to this case. In 2007, the jury was unable to reach a verdict. Again in 2008, he was acquitted of all charges. Now police will pursue new leads as they work to figure out who killed Shamari Taylor.
Federal officials say they've arrested 5 people in connection to a cold case. Shamari Taylor vanished back in 2006 and turned up dead in 2018. Investigators say 5 people hatched a plan to kidnap him, torture him for information about where he kept drugs and money, and then kill him. One of the suspects, Kenneth Tuck, has been tried twice in this case and acquitted, but investigators say they have proof that he bribed a witness from one trial and others gave false testimony. Taylor was the son of the late John Myers, who served 9 terms in the State House.
For over a decade, the name Shamari Taylor echoed only in silence. A young man gone without a trace. Tortured, executed, his body hidden so well that it took 12 years to find. Construction crews digging near a former vacant lot, now a charter school parking lot, made a grisly discovery: human remains. They belong to Shamari Taylor. It was the break the investigators had waited for years. But what came next would unravel one of the most disturbing cold cases in Philadelphia's history. By 2004, 5 men, long rumored to be involved, were arrested. Kevin Holloway, Mark Scott, Linton Mathis, and Attica Wicker, all facing federal charges: kidnapping resulting in death, conspiracy, and aiding and abetting. But one name stood out: Kenneth Tuck, a man who had already stood trial twice in state court and walked free. In 2008, he was acquitted, and with that verdict came something else: double jeopardy protection. It meant no matter what new evidence emerged, the state could never prosecute him again. And that may be why, even after Shamari's body was found in 2018, the case would remain frozen for 6 long years until the federal government stepped in. Unlike the state, federal prosecutors had tools that Pennsylvania didn't. They could charge the crime from a different angle: a conspiracy, a kidnapping that ended in murder. And this wasn't a retrial. This was a completely new case, built from the ground up. And this time, I highly doubt that Kenneth Tuck walks away unscathed. As we all know, the feds have a 98% conviction rate. So that usually gives you about 2% to play with the fact that he was implicated the very next day after it happened in 2006. On top of the feds' ability to gather information no matter how long ago it happened, I'm gonna say he's probably looking at a 0.2% chance. I'll never forget one of the most memorable quotes that I heard from someone while doing research for a Mob Ties episode. They said in the federal system, it's a saying: the feds could convict a bologna sandwich for murder. And when I thought about it, he was exactly right, because they damn sure gonna convict it for choking somebody back in the 70s or giving somebody high cholesterol back in the 1990s. But y'all let me know what y'all thoughts on this, especially the brazenness of the niggas that kidnapped him, not only going to his mom's house after and trying to execute her and his sister. Most homicides are solved within 72 hours or within weeks when the evidence is fresh. So what are y'all thoughts on the body being found more than a decade later? My first thought was somebody had to say something, but after giving it more thought, maybe they just picked a bad spot. And can y'all imagine how they felt when they found out that the vacant lot where they dropped the body at, a school, was about to be built over there? Y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below. Y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. And y'all make sure y'all tap in with me directly on Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And until our next jug, you know how we rocking. Shades Popalot. Salute the almighty mob.